die. 17 more battle report. Ignore. Versus Retribution.
Hello YouTubers, welcome to yet another battle report from the Mighty Die. Today it's going to be between my Khador army versus Ben's Retribution army. Unfortunately, Ben is not here to defend himself in this particular report, so it'll just be me talking about this particular game. As such, probably most of the details are about the Khador forces, but hopefully I'm also able to provide some details on what Ben did and thought. The battlefield that you can see here, pretty straightforward. On the right side, on Ben's side, you'll see a ruin that we're currently playing as granting concealment. No further movement penalties, however, you're not allowed to charge through these ruins. And on the left side you see these graves, which we are playing as a trench. Everything else is as you see it. Then on the army selection, Ben is playing an army that you're probably already quite familiar with. His caster is Helynna, hiding in the back there, accompanied by a full unit of halberdiers with unit attachment. Let me see if I get these names right, it always confuses me. 2 manticores, Phoenix, and also 3 light warjacks, an Aspis, a Chimera, and a Griffin, and 2 heavy rifle teams on the right side. Also there's a couple of arcanists to help him with focus. And in the front there you see Iris, which is Iris 2. He's proxying until he actually gets the model. On the Khador side of things, I'm playing Sorscha 1, accompanied by Silas, and her battle group consists of the Behemoth. In this case I'm playing a Disseminator. I'm still waiting for my order to get in, a Destroyer and a Kodiak. Then we have a full unit of Nis Hunters, and for my advanced deployment I have Doomweavers without the attachment, Widowmakers, and Iris 1. Again, here I'm waiting for Iris 1 to actually come in, so I'm just playing Iris 2 right now. So in this case Ben has first turn, yeah, he has a pretty straightforward turn. Most of the stuff moves up. On the left side, as you can see, the halberdiers move towards the flag, the warjacks move up, as well as his Griffin on his left flank, my right side. After activation, he unfortunately realizes he moved up the Griffin too much and is currently outside of the control range of his caster, so that makes it a little bit easier for me to deal with this particular model. At least expect him to not do as much as he could do. Also, he moves up Iris onto the hill, putting her in a prime location to start picking up models later in the game. And he's also planning on moving up those heavy rifle teams up on that hill as well to have a good firing position. Then moving on to my first turn. On my left hand side I move up to Nis inside the forest, outside of charge range of the halberdiers. They can still run to engage me, at least with some models, which I don't mind that much, but I didn't want to get charged this early on in the game, so I'm holding them back a little bit. The Behemoth and Destroyer both run up, trying to close as much distance as possible and start putting some pressure in the zone next turn. The Kodiak tramples forward and puts some steam. Widowmakers move up on the right flank, cautiously advancing, considering this Griffin is still on my flank, and they start taking shots at the heavy rifle teams. I could have actually taken out all of them, but I did not know that with the pickup rule you can easily basically pull back your model, and in this case that meant the remaining models were outside of the range for the Middlemakers, despite me having some shots left, so I should have moved them up a little bit more aggressively. The Doomweavers are annoying as always. 2 of them actually run to engage Iris, so she's locked down for now, which is really great. And as you can see, pretty close to his objective, there's a Doomweaver there as well, trying to block the path of his advance. And I also put a number of Doomweavers behind him instead, so in case he charges that lone Doomweaver, I get the chance to countercharge and start doing some damage on his jacks. On Ben's second turn, he feats, so that gives a big protective bonus to most of his army. Halberdiers run further up the flank and also mini feat, so that makes them nigh indestructible. So that's a real problem for me to deal with. Then his Chimera charges the Doomweaver that I put up front. So hopefully I can start doing some damage to his light warjack next turn. Iris 2 managed to kill one Doomweaver, but she missed the second attack, so she's luckily still engaged by my second Doomweaver. Then he puts another fire template with his Manticore to give additional protection to his unit of Halberdiers, and I believe the Chimera on the right flank, Griffin on the right flank, also kills a Widowmaker. So let's see, going into my second turn, how much damage I can do. Everything is very well protected, but I have to start pushing further up the field to make sure I can get some stuff done later. Going into my second turn, I realized that the positioning on Ben's Halberdiers was not ideal. He has this bonus from, I believe it's defensive line, but because of the arcs on the models, I'm actually able to move around the flank of the unit and negate the bonuses that he has. So between the Nis Hunters, the Behemoth, and also the Widowmakers moving towards the center and shooting down that unit, at the end of my turn only one single Halberdier remains, which is a very big blow to his protection on the flank, and allows me to start putting some pressure on the scenario and also start moving around his army to potentially get to his caster. Unfortunately though, we did realize later, once everything was said and done in this particular turn, that we forgot about the feat. So of course that would have made a difference in his defensive capabilities, but again, neither of us thought about it at this point, so it was really hard to take it back. So we just left it as it is. Again, single Halberdier remaining. Then we have a Doomweaver in the center, trying to put some damage on the Chimera, which is charged, and I do cause some damage. The other Doomweaver facing Iris unfortunately misses, but I'm still holding her up, which is all I basically expect from that guy. And then the other two Doomweavers charge towards my right flank and cause some damage to the Griffin. Also here I realized that I could of course move up my other jacks, Behemoth and the Destroyer, but he's out threatening me in terms of melee, so I'm not comfortable like walking up and getting the charge on my jacks, and I'm actually doing a pretty good job in taking apart support models and other units just by shooting at them. So I actually decided to kind of pull back my jacks, so my main heavy hitters, and just whittle down his army before I start engaging them. So going to Ben's third turn, he's feeling particularly sad about his Halberdiers being completely wiped out, so the lone one decides to take vengeance, charge on his hunters, and fails to do any damage. Then the Phoenix shoots on the objective, putting it on fire, as well as putting the Kodiak on fire, and then he has his Chimera charge the Kodiak as well, fully loaded, and puts a decent amount of damage on it, but all the systems are still up and running, so I'm not too worried about that. Then at this point he's getting a little bit tired of Iris being held up by the Doomweaver, so his Manticore is getting involved, and he does manage to kill the last remaining Doomweaver there with a heavy warjack. Then over on the right flank he manages to kill the Doomweaver, or at least one of the Doomweavers, with his Griffin. And then of course in the center he did just free up Iris as well, so he moves up with Iris and gets a lucky shot at Sorscha. I think it was at defense 18 or 19, and he manages to hit, causing about 6 damage or so, but I managed to take off most of it with the focus that I have, but still, reaching out, already trying to do some damage. Then on my third turn, I'm basically just trying to capitalize on the position I now have, and making sure that I don't get charged next turn by all those jacks running around. The Nis, of course, easily rid themselves of the lone Halberdier, and then they move towards the center of the board and block charge lanes there. They also try to push towards the caster, just to give me options later in the game if I want to make a move there. The Kodiak, with focus, easily wrecks the Griffin, and the Destroyer also takes some shots at the Chimera, which is of course easily hit, and I actually managed to catch Iris 2 in the blast, and she's dead, so that's awesome. I'm always worried about Irises when I face them, and being able to pick them off or hold them up like this is the best thing that can happen. Then both of my jacks, Behemoth and Destroyer, move backwards. Again, I don't want to get charged by the longer threat range of the Phoenix and the Manticore, and I'm doing fine just shooting stuff to pieces. The Widowmakers move up and take out an artillery piece, who haven't really made any mark on the game so far, so I'm pretty happy about this. Iris 1 moves up into the building there in the ruin and starts shooting in his back lines and take out the Arcanist that was hiding behind the hill. Sorscha, not feeling particularly brave, decides to windrush behind the wall after being shot by Iris. Going into Ben's 4th turn, his Griffin on my right side kills the Doomweaver, leaving open that flank quite exposed for me. Then his Manticore in the center of the board moves up. Not entirely sure what he did, but his second Manticore with focus charges into my Kodiak and does heavy damage to it, leaving him on a few boxes remaining with most of his systems down. For some reason the Phoenix has a thing with my objective this game and decides to charge it. Doesn't destroy it completely, but it's almost down. Here hoping to score that point. So Khador turn 4, and after looking at the board for a while, I realized I had a decision to make. The game was going on for 3.5-4 hours now, and I feel I'm in a pretty good position. I can now start countercharging some of these warjacks. The destroyer could have gone into the Chimera. Behemoth can take out the Phoenix, and I can quite easily attrition out this game and secure a win for myself. But again, it's already late, and my list is designed mostly for an assassination in mind, and I really want to see what it can do at this stage of the game. So I figured take a risk and put all my money on assassinating his caster. So after thinking about it for a while about how to activate and in which order, I decided to move up Sorscha. So she does her classic Sorscha move by moving up the board, windrushing, and then popping her feet. A whole bunch of stuff is affected, but of course most importantly in this case, Helynna is also made stationary. I'll then also try to put some shots into her from Sorscha's hand cannon, and then I only realized that I messed up the order of activation. Of course, with Iris there on the flank, I should have activated her first and shut off those 3 focus that Helynna still has left. So that's unfortunately a mistake. So she manages to negate any damage that Sorscha did to her herself. Then, of course, a time for Iris to activate. She moves up a little bit more and shoots Helynna in the face, taking off her remaining focus and doing a little bit of damage as well. Then time for the big blasts. Destroyer activates and hits Helynna, which isn't particularly hard at this point, even not with red 4. Boosts the damage and does a ton of damage. I think I did 10 or so damage, and I'm leaving Helynna at 3 hit points. When I started planning this turn, I did realize that Behemoth was too far out, which is of course unfortunate for this particular list, because those 2 jacks with the bombards really help making short work of any caster I'm planning on assassinating, but let's see what I can still do without him to participate in this endeavor. And lastly, I of course have the Nis Hunters who move around the flank for exactly this purpose, and I decide to combine all of them into one massive Scyrah to do as much damage as possible to Helynna, and that then finally finishes off Ben's caster. So, Khador victory. As you can see here, a proud Nis Hunter enjoying the view of the slain Warcaster. So yeah, that was the game. Hope you enjoyed the battle report. Hopefully next time Ben can join as well to speak to his evil plans. Hope you enjoyed, and see you again soon.